You are watching Fuel Motivation. For more videos from your favorite public speakers, be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications.
We all have two people. We all have two people. And I'm not saying you're crazy. We have the easy voice, which is that 20% telling yourself that I'm easy at 90% of my full potential, maybe 100% at that 20%. That's that voice that we all love. That's that very comfortable voice that's that mommy holding you saying it's going to be okay. Doesn't care how good you are, just loves you. Just loves you no matter how messed up you are in life. That's where you want to be at. So that's that one voice. This other voice that we walk very far away from is the voice saying, hey man, you ain't doing shit. So we try to get this voice out of our head completely. And we live over here in this land. So what you have to do first is turn up this voice over here. The voice saying things to you that aren't nice. That it's in our head saying, you know what, man? Dude, you're not doing shit. You're not and it's not putting yourself down. People take this the wrong way in this new society. I'm not saying to put yourself down. I'm saying listen to the truth. And the truth isn't in the 20%. The truth is in this other part of your brain saying, look, man, you're wasting a bunch of percentage here. We have 80 more percent that we're not tapping into because in this other 80% is suffering, pain, failure, self-doubt, darkness, and then a whole bunch of light. But to get to this light, you got to go through all of this shit. So a lot of us know that. We know, yeah, I can get over here, but over here, man, this is much better because I got to go through this journey that is not fun. This from 20 to 100%, this shit in between is not fun. So we decide to live over here. So everybody goes, how do you do that? You know exactly how to do that. You know exactly. It's not a magic trick. There's nothing I talk about in that book that's a magic trick. It's all back down to a very primitive mindset of we just have to do. It's like breathing. Breathing becomes normal. Like we don't even know that we're doing it. That's how you have to live your life. When that alarm clock goes off at 4 or 5 in the morning, your mind says no. You just say, it's just what we do. It's what we do now. Because to get to where you want to go, the amount of pain involved, I'm not saying physical. I'm not saying you got to break yourself off. The amount of mental pain of how many times you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go is going to be, there's going to be more times you do something that you don't want to do than you are going to want to do it. And that's your new norm. That's your new norm. So then it's like breathing. And then once you do this over and over and over again, it becomes like breathing. I don't want to live this lifestyle, but to get to the other side of this, I have to. So if you really want it, you realize what trying is and what trying is not. Basically, it's about doing those things that you don't want to do. But what I found when I was 297 pounds, so I'm not a guy that read a book and said, oh, they're the answers. The book, whoever buys this book, or even if you don't, I could care less. All this came from here. It came from me putting myself on the hot seat and then saying, okay, wow. Okay, 297, this is where my mind was at. To get to 187, this is where my mind went to go through 3 hell weeks, to run 205 miles, to do 4,030 pull-ups. And I'm a natural born fat guy. Even though I was born 175, I gained 125 pounds. I was lazy. That's who I am. I'm a guy that likes to sit back, watch TV, and eat pizza. Like everybody. Guy that never had that, like me. I love my mom, but she was working. All I crave is that mama voice. Please love David. Love David. That voice got me to 297 pounds. When I got out of the military and I started gaining this weight a lot, my standard breakfast was 8 cinnamon rolls You know, like basically, I think 6 to 8 scrambled eggs, you know, half a pound of bacon, Fruity Pebbles, Lucky Charms, whatever it may be. That was my standard breakfast. Food and also being comfortable. Whatever I wanted, I did. And that's where I started seeing myself get further and further away from my true self. And your true self is found, honestly, in that very uncomfortable zone.
So partly what you're doing in that circumstance is you're facing the demons of your own imagination. And if you can stand that, then you grow up. And that's what an initiation ceremony does. Now, a lot of what you'll find if you look at clinical theories of psychology, the same motif applies. If you want to get better, you have to find out what you're avoiding and what you're afraid of. And maybe what you're disgusted by even. And you have to expose yourself to that voluntarily, and you have to let that change you. And so it's not a pleasant prospect. I mean, it's not dancing through a field of daisies, right, with Muzak playing. And it's not follow your bliss, you know. It's not the natural unfolding of a positive process. It's not that at all. It's the voluntary confrontation with the things that make up life's horrors. But what's interesting about it is that there's an idea there that lurks under the surface archetypally, and that is, there's a lot more to you than meets the eye. But it won't be released unless it has to. And so you're not going to even figure out what it is until you put yourself in peril. Now, part of that you might think, like, imagine that you're an introvert and you're socially awkward and you're highly neurotic, so you feel a lot of anxiety and depression. You don't like going to parties, and that's because the horrible tyrant lives at parties and always glaring at you and judging you and telling you how useless and insufficient you are. And so you go there and you don't even look at people because you know that if you did look at them, you'd just see the face of the judgmental tyrant, which, by the way, you wouldn't if you actually looked at them, but you won't because you avoid. And so you're going to go there and you're going to put yourself in this terrible situation, and if you're lucky and you're a bit awake, then you're going to incorporate all sorts of information from the external world that will help you develop your social skills and make you more sophisticated. And even if that doesn't happen, you're going to learn that you can tolerate your own fear. And you might say, well, what's better? To not be afraid or to know that you can handle being afraid? And obviously to not be afraid. But give that up, because that ain't happening. So the next best thing and the realistic thing is to know that you're the master of your own fear. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about in relationship to classical theories of personality is exactly that. It's not that the world isn't terrible. It's that the world is terrible. But you're a lot stronger than you think. And the way and so part of that is the strength that you gather is partly the information that you gather when you go somewhere that you're not good at, you know, so you're establishing new skills like you have at university. But there's another part that's interesting that's related to the little video that I showed you at the beginning. DNA turns out to be a very complex structure. And so if I put you in situation A, then DNA codes certain kinds of proteins that help make up the way that your mind is and the way it works. But if I take you and I put you in another situation, completely different genes turn on. And so what that means is that you have a biological repository of potential use lying dormant at the highest resolution level of your molecular structure. And that if you push yourself in all sorts of different directions and you find different things to pursue and test yourself against, then you're going to turn on parts of yourself that aren't currently on a goal. And you don't want to hold on to that too tightly because you might be wrong. So you've got to be willing to let that go and have a different goal, but you need a goal. And then, you know, while you're pursuing the goal, you're going to find out that there's some obstacles in your path, obviously. And maybe some of those obstacles are of a frightening type, or maybe they're even of a disgusting type. You might say, I don't want to turn into that kind of person. So those of you who are sort of socialist, utopian left-wingers might think that way about business people. It's like I would recommend that you get over it as rapidly as possible. So anyways, you might think there's no way I'm going to act that way. So you sort of put it off limits, say. Or maybe you're afraid to do what you need to do next. Well, here's a rule. Don't avoid doing things because they make you feel negative emotion if you have to do those things in order to pursue your goals. In fact, you should do exactly the opposite. So let's say you're pursuing a goal and you find that you're afraid about something and so you're avoiding it. The first thing you should think is, aha, look, I'm afraid of something and I'm avoiding it. Dragon, treasure, Exactly there. And that's exactly right. It's precisely right. If you're afraid of the thing, then what that means is that you're not developed enough